Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the KO Podcast. My name is Tyler Russo, and this is episode number 4. We have a lot to get into this episode. We had an action-packed weekend in the combat sports world. We had UFC, we had PFL, we had top-ranked boxing. Let's get into it. Ring that bell. All right, getting into UFC Austin, we had 5 KOs in the prelims alone. It was insane, just KO after KO. Woo, and these were not just regular KOs, let me tell you. These were brutal KOs. We had a flying knee, and then we had Phil Hawes just elbowing the hell out of Darren Wynn. Darren Wynn is a tough fighter, and he just was not going to get put away, and it was not a surprise that it was a standing TKO, but he got brutalized. But Phil Hawes in a great performance, really. And then we had Cody Stanman and we had Eddie Weiland. Cody Stanman got the job done. He put away Weiland in just 59 seconds of the first round. Unfortunately, Weiland did retire, so big respect to Eddie Weiland. He is a former WEC bantamweight champion. He had a long and storied career, big legend in this sport, so I hope he has a happy retirement. He definitely deserves it. Then we move on. We finally had a decision fight, and it was a pretty good fight. It was, Marina Oliveira getting that W, and it was very impressive. It was a split decision, but, putting that aside, she really performed really well. And then we had Ricardo Ramos spinning back elbow to Danny Chavez, and it froze him. It stunned him, and then he went on top and finished him with some punches, but Ricardo Ramos, that's not his first spinning KO. This guy is a very athletic fighter. He's very fun. Whenever he's fighting, I always put his fights on because like that, you never know what's going to happen. It was just out of nowhere. And probably one of the most brutal knockouts of the night. We had Jeremiah Wells knocking out cold Court McGee. Now, Court McGee is a vet of the game. He's a tough winner. I have personally never seen Court McGee get put out like that. It was brutal. And Jeremiah Wells, watch out for him in the welterweight division. This guy is scary. I reposted a picture of him. That guy is a scary man in the cage. And then we finished off the prelims with Nadia Silva getting it done. Very impressive by her, actually, because this was her first fight in, I think, about 2 years. So big props to Silva for getting that done. And now we're going to move on to the main card. And unfortunately, we did have Donald Cerrone and Joe Lozon fall out again. Really weird circumstance. The second time in a row that this fight was canceled the day of the fight. Apparently, Lozon, after the official weigh-in, he went to go put socks on, and his knee completely buckled, and he could not get it straightened out. So that fight was off, unfortunately. Lozon did get his knee back in place. I guess it was dislocated, and he found a video or something, or someone sent him a video, and he got it back into place. So hopefully these two guys can fight somebody at some point, because I would love to see Lozon back. I've never seen him fight live, and I would love to see Lozon fight live. And also Donald Cerrone, he's a legend. I think he wants 2 more fights, and then he's done, so, let's get those fights booked for Cowboy and Lozon. So we had the prelim main event bumped up, the original one. It was Adrian Yanez and Tony Kelly. Adrian Yanez brutalized Kelly, just brutalized him. It was insane. Yanez is a problem, and he just entered the top 15, and I've been saying this ever since I saw him on the Contender Series, but this guy, he's got future champion written all over him. His boxing is smooth. His boxing is just so fluent. It's insane, just the amount of skill he has in his boxing. And Tony Kelly, you can say what you want about whatever he said, but as a fighter, he's a tough fighter, and to put him away like that, he was brutalizing him. Kelly didn't know which way the punches were coming, and those hooks, Yanez was putting so much power in those hooks, and every time it connected, it almost looked like Kelly went out on his feet, really. And then we had another banger of a fight. We had Gregory Rodriguez taking on Julian Marquez. We had another brutal knockout. Credit to Marquez. He was trying to fight through being rocked, and he was swinging back. But unfortunately, Rodriguez put him out, and that was another brutal end to a fight. Then we had Demar Azgumlov. I hope I said that right. This went to a decision, and he got the W against Gorman Caltades. Again, I hope I said that right. And that was a decision victory. That was one of the only ones on the main card. And then we got back to the KOs. We had Joaquin Buckley. He knocked out Duraev, and Buckley, impressive again. He's an amazing athlete. He is an insane entertainer. This guy he puts on a show every time he's in the octagon. Then we had the co-main event. We had Tim Means taking on Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland got it done. He submitted Tim Means in the second round. He rocked Means, and then he got on a rear naked choke, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, and that was an impressive win. Kevin Holland getting it done, of course. And he also got a shoplifter like the day before the fight. This guy's the literal Batman. Insane. So Kevin Holland, always entertaining. I'm a big fan of his, very likable guy. Then we had the main event. We had Calvin Kattar taking on Josh Emmett, and it was a split decision win for Josh Emmett. Now, I don't agree with the decision. I think Kattar did enough to get it done, but the judges gave it to Emmett. Emmett's eye looked pretty messed up. I think it was his right eye. I don't know if he has anything broken in his orbital bone, but his eye was nasty. And I just thought the rounds that I thought Kattar took, I just thought he just was a little bit more busier, and he was pushing the action a little bit more, So unfortunately, I thought it was actually going to be a stoppage in this main event. I thought Kattar was just going to overwhelm him in the later rounds, but Emmett kept his distance, and he fought through some adversity because, again, his eye just did not look good at all. And so that was UFC Austin. That's the full card. It was an amazing card. I think it even broke the revenue record for the UFC, if I'm not mistaken. So that was a nice card. Now we're going to move on to some PFL. Getting to that PFL card, we had Jeremy Stephens getting the decision win. We had OAM getting the decision win as well. And we had Shoeface Carlos Jr. getting it done. And then in the main event, this is what I really wanted to talk about. We had Collard versus Martinez. I thought Collard got it done. I really did. And I don't think he has enough points to make the playoffs in the PFL. If you didn't know, PFL, they're very different, and I like it. They have a regular season, a playoff, and a championship, and the two, finalists, they go and compete for $1 million check. I think that's a very exciting thing, and I wish more companies would do that, but I thought Collard got it done. And that is the PFL card. Now we're going to move on to some top-ranked boxing. We had one of the more dominant performance I've seen in boxing this year. We had Arthur Beterbiev. He took on Joe Smith Jr., and he finished Joe Smith Jr. in 2 rounds. Joe Smith Jr. is a tough fighter to put away. And, he's got a heart of a lion. And for King Arthur, just to run through him in 2 rounds, I know this guy, he's now 18-0 with 18 knockouts. He's the only active champ with 100 finish rate. So that's impressive. This guy put on a show. He dropped Smith Jr. in, I think, in the closing seconds of the first round, and then he dropped him 3 times in the second. It was done, and he just put on a masterclass performance. And I hope he stays more active. That's kind of the big thing with him, is he doesn't stay active that much. And I hope to see him more active, because he's running through people just like he's been his whole career. He's just ran through everybody, and very impressive. So keep an eye on him. Hopefully he unifies the light heavyweight division soon. That would be, I'm very looking forward to seeing another fight with him. That was a very, very impressive performance. And now we are going to preview some events upcoming. All right, this weekend we have more UFC. We have Arman Tsarukyan taking on Gamrot. I am really looking forward to this matchup. These are two surging lightweights, and it's gonna be a good fight. But let's look at the prelims. Let's throw out some names that you should definitely keep an eye on. We got Vanessa Delopoulos, aka the girl who jumped into Joe Rogan's arms in her post-fight interview. She seems like just a fireball of energy. I would love to interview her at some point. Then we got Brian Kelleher, long-standing bantamweight UFC veteran. We have Carlos Unberg. He's another light heavyweight prospect. And now we're gonna move on to this main card. It's a pretty good main card. There's a lot of good matchups. We got Chris Curtis, action man. Come on, he's like his name. He's all action. If you haven't seen any of his recent fights in the UFC, go watch them. They're all very exciting. And then we have Omar Nurmagomedov. He's 14-0, so big bantamweight prospect. We got Thiago Moses. We got a heavyweight matchup. We got Josh Parson, and we have Alan Botat. And then this co-main event I'm very, very excited for. We have Neil Magny taking on a surging prospect in Rakhtonimov. I apologize if I mispronounce his name, but he's 15-0. He is a surging welterweight prospect, and he looks like he's gonna be a top contender one day. So I'm excited for that co-main event. It should be a very competitive fight. Magny is always a tough out. He's never gonna back down from a challenge. He's always ready to take on any fight. So that's why he's taking on, this big name prospect. I don't think a lot of people wanted this fight, to be honest. And then in the main event now, we have Arman Tsarukyan and Gamrot. Now, this is I'm so excited for this lightweight matchup. These are two surging guys, like I said earlier, and I think Tsarukyan's going to get it done. He is 18-2, so that's a very, very impressive record, and he's going up against some great competition. Now, if we look at Gamrot, he also has had some great wins. He submitted Jeremy Stevens. He finished Carlos Diego Ferreira. Those are tough guys to put away and finish, really. And then, Tsarukyan, he's had a lot of tough fights himself. He had Joel Alves. He's had Matt Ferreira. He actually fought OAM, and his last loss was to Islam Makhachev, which is that's Islam. He's an amazing grappler, and it was fight of the night. So I would love to see a rematch between Islam and Tsarukyan. I mean, I think that would be a great main event to if he can get this done against Gamrot. I think that's a great rematch to have at some point in the near future. And that's going to wrap up this UFC card. And now I'm going to talk about Bellator 282. So this is a pretty stacked card. I don't usually say that about Bellator cards. Usually Bellator cards, it's like main event and co-main event are usually, the must watch, or at least just to watch, because that's where their top talent is really in those last two fights. But we do have some good prelim fights that I would like to go over, and the big news is I'm going to actually be covering this in person. This will be my first ever live MMA event. So I'm so excited. I'm going to be, posting pictures and all that on fight night. And I'm very excited. And, thank you to Bellator for letting me cover this event in person. So we got former Bellator lightweight champ Brett Pumless. He's fighting in the prelim. We got Catanzaro. And so those are some names on the prelims, and then we're going to start the main card off with Brandon Ward, local Connecticut guy, fighting in Mohegan Sun again. And then we have two Bantamweight World Grand Prix matches. I am very excited for this. So we got Magnodov, and we have Bazogla. I think I said those names correctly. I apologize if I pronounce those incorrectly, but that is one of the bantamweight fights for the Grand Prix. And then this one I'm really looking to. It's Leandro Hugo taking on Danny Sabatello. And Sabatello, he's burst onto the MMA scene in pretty recently, and He's a big trash talker, and he's the Italian gangster, and I just love that nickname for him, and he fits it perfectly. And so I'm going to be looking at his fight pretty closely. His last fight, he dominated. He completely he was covered in his opponent's blood. So that's how much he dominated his last fight. He really impressed me in his last fight. And then in the main event, we got Gegard Mousasi taking on Johnny Eblen, and Mousasi, his last fight, he dominated. It wasn't even a close. He finished that fight in the first round. So I'm looking for Mousasi probably to get it done again. He's 49, 7-2. So to have 49 wins is insane. He's gonna be going for his 50th win. So a constant presence in the fight game, whether it was in UFC or now Bellator, and he's been a champion almost everywhere he's been. So, very excited for this main event. I would like to see if Eblen's going to try to grapple with him or if he's just going to try to stand up with him completely. So I'm excited to watch this fight live. It's an honor to watch Mousasi in person. He's a legend of the sport. So I'm very excited for this event. As I said, it's my first ever live MMA event. So it's pretty surreal to me. And again, thank you, Bellator, for letting me cover this event in person. And that is going to do it for this episode of the KO Podcast. If you would like to stay in touch with the podcast and me, of course, we do have a Twitter, and it is the KO Podcast with Tyler Russo. Type it in, and I will pop up because I'm very active on Twitter. And we also got a YouTube channel by the same name. So definitely check out all of those things, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Stay safe, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.